Hey everyone, welcome to Financial Revelations. I am David Szafranski, your host, and I know you've missed me because I took last week off, mainly due to travel schedule and some things that were going on at the office when I got back from travel schedule. So here I am now, and I wanted to make you guys aware of a couple of things. One, you can always call here, 440-934-2195. Or a 1-800 number, which is scrolling down. I don't even remember it. So we have an 800 number. You know it, right, Corey? You don't? You don't know our 800 number? We'll find it. It'll scroll. Corey will have it for the scrolling. I don't remember it. I have it in my
344-2534.
1-800-344-2534. Thank you. And then also nativosusa.org, the website for our Amazon work. And the Amazon work is expanding. Of course, we support our church down there and the well dig missions and those things that go on. And they're building a church right now in the jungle. They just finished the foundation for it yesterday. They need more money. So if you want to donate to a church in the Amazon, you can go to nativosusa.org and you can donate through PayPal. You can send a check. You could do, any way you want. You could donate. But if you do it on PayPal, we have a lot of people donate on PayPal. If you donate on PayPal and you want it to go just for the church, you gotta put that in the note. It's just for church construction, so we know. We want to be. We take. In this business, you take money very seriously. And if we say it's going to go to this, whatever that is, whether it's a well dig or the church or something else, then we must do that. I have given money to a lot of organizations over the years. The one thing that really burns me up is when, one, they waste money, or two, the money doesn't go where they said it was going to go. We are never going to waste money, and we're always going to send the money to where we said it was going to go. So just give us a note so we know. And then next April, we're going on a trip back to dig wells, probably taking the Wall Street Journal with us again. But if your church wanted to go, if you guys want to set up a missions trip, we could do that. We could do one just for your church. I think you got to have about 8 or 9 people to make it worth it for you, to make the expense worth it. Although you could do 3 people if it just costs money, because the boat takes gas and we bring all the money. They have the expertise. The Americanos have the money. So especially when you go to Brazil, because your currency goes 5 to 1. So if you have questions about that, if you have questions about Nativos or what we're doing there or how you get involved, you just call here. You could talk to me or Melissa. Melissa lived in the Amazon. She lived in this city of Maués for 6 years with her husband and family. And so they're experts in what goes on there. So if you have questions, feel free to call there. Of course, the thing with Iran is still going on. But while it's going on, while this is going on, while we're trying to come to some measure of peace, and I suspect that we would have a peace agreement already if all their leaders weren't dead. So I think we're probably having a hard time discerning who actually has the power to sign something there, because we've killed everybody else. The military did its job expertly, and of course they have the gay Ayatollah now there. We don't even know if he's alive. There's rumors that he's not alive, but we don't know. And the IRGC, and then they have their normal parliamentary government, and my guess is they are not on the same page. And so figuring out which one of those 2 factions is going to maintain power is very difficult, because if it's the IRGC, which is their religious army, then they're zealots. We're going to be bombing again. And I've long held, since we did the original ceasefire, that we are going to be bombing again. And I still believe that. We will be bombing again. So I just saw on the news right before we started the podcast that a bunch of the Gulf countries have opened up their airspace and their bases to us, which tells me that we're about to stage equipment. And that equipment, now we don't want to get it too close because we don't want it to be at risk of a drone attack Though this is real. I mean, if you look at what's going on in Russia with Ukraine right now, Ukraine is striking deep into Russia with $300 drones taking out multi-million-dollar aircraft. We don't want to be in that position. We'll stand the equipment off a little bit, leave it in the Gulf, leave it on an aircraft carrier, but we are going to be pre-positioning, staging some equipment, apparently. And it may be a ploy to get the Iranians to move. It may just be we're going to bomb them. So we're going to find out in a couple of days. I'm all for bombing them more. I want to bomb them into submission. I don't want to hurt the normal people of Iran. It's not our goal. It's to take out these zealots in the IRGC whose stated goal is to kill you and me. I'm more worried about it if they get to me than to you, but they're going to get to all of us if we let them. And if they have a nuke, my guess is that they're going to use it, or they're going to use it as leverage to the point where it is untenable. And once they have a nuke, it's over. Negotiations end. Look at North Korea. So the main difference between North Korea and Iran is North Korea, at least the way it looks to me, just wants to be left alone. Iran does not want to be left alone. They want to go out and reach out and touch people. So, but the markets are at all-time highs. Oil's coming down. Even in the height of all this, oil was barely over $100 a barrel. So I don't think it's going to shut the world down. And gas prices should be dropping relatively soon. So I think there's another 15 or 20% in this market to the upside if we bomb them into submission or they surrender. One of those two things is going to happen. So stay tuned. I'm still a growth investor. We haven't sold anything. We're buyers. But, you know, it's that time of year where your college kid is kind of coming home. So I wanted to give you just some advice on how to handle your college kids when they come home. You know, Corey just picked up a kid his first year at The Ohio State University. And she's okay. Her kid's fine. But yours might not be. So, you know, if you pick up your kid from college and they get in the car and you find that they may have become a disgusting liberal while at college, they've been hoodwinked and slamboozled by higher education, the scam of the century. It's a multi-level marketing scheme, really, for a lot of kids. So I want to give you some advice on how to handle them. You know, let's say, for instance, you get in the car and little Timmy's in the car, and lo and behold, he doesn't want to be called little Timmy anymore. He wants to be called little Kimmy. You have a problem. I mean, you got a big problem. So this is what you have to do. You got to get off the highway, get on a back road and find some woods, and you got to pull over and you got to have little Timmy stand up and go to the bathroom on a tree. It's more or less a plumbing check. Little Timmy cannot be little Kimmy. And he has to know that right away. And how do you know that? How do you know that there's only two genders? You do a plumbing check. And, you know, most of us do the plumbing check every single morning. Little Timmy's confused. He's gotten confused by his gender studies professor. And you need to set little Timmy straight. And the best way to do that is just to say, Timmy, go pee on a tree. Well, little Kimmy can't do that, but little Timmy can. Write your name in the snow. It's Ohio. It's totally possible that it's going to snow again in May. It feels like it's going to snow right now. If that happens, have Timmy write his name in the snow. Little Kimmy can't do that. So he can't be little Kimmy. He's little Timmy. And that's the way it's going to stay. Now, okay, that's for Timmy. What if you've got a daughter and she gets in the car and while you're driving home, she expresses an interest in stopping at the Subaru dealer to look at the new models that are in? You're like, you've got a problem if she wants to see Subarus. Okay? We know what that means. It's not the official car of it, but it's pretty close. First of all, do not stop at the Subaru dealer. She's not getting a Subaru. I want you to buy her a 2-door pickup truck with 3 different wheels on it. That's what you do. And you got to talk to her beautician or barber. She's not getting the undercut with a fade. We're not doing that. So whatever you do, do not stop at the Subaru dealership. We don't drive Subarus in this house. Plus, they're not the cars that they used to be. They just aren't. They've got some transmission problems. They just don't make them like they used to. But your daughter is not driving a Subaru now. It gets worse. Okay, this is a big thing on college campuses. Although I just read in the Wall Street Journal the other day the place where young people are meeting up today, and this gave me a lot of hope for the next for whatever generation they're in. But church attendance is on the rise dramatically among, is it Gen Z, Corey? Whatever. I'm not a boomer. I'm a millennial. I'm at the tail end of millennials. And then there was Gen Y. I don't know. But whatever generation is out there, right? I think it's Gen Z. They're going to church. And I love this because, all these things kind of cycle in and out. And there was a long cycle of our youth leaving church. And so what did we do? We tried to make it entertaining, which, I don't mind a little bit of showman. I don't know how to say this to make it sound not weird, but, you got to hold people's interest too. And so I don't mind a little bit of that in church, but I think we went overboard. I went to church one time in Florida. We were in Florida for something, and this was a production. I'm like, wow, Disney would love this. This is like Disney all the way. We don't need that. I don't think we need that, but young people are going to church. So, but if you pick up your kid from school and they get in the car and they start talking about how socialism has never been done right and we're going to do it different this time, I've got the perfect solution to this. Okay, so if they express an interest in socialism, one, you got a problem that you have to nip in the bud right away. And this is how you do it. You feed them every third day. And you make them wait in line for their food for like an hour and a half. Not inside the house. They got to wait outside the house. It doesn't matter what the weather is. In fact, if the weather's bad, it's even better. The worse the weather, the better the lesson. So in socialism, in true socialism, you eat about every third day. And it's not going to be something you like. So you know how picky kids can be these days. I had one kid that was really picky and one kid that would eat gravel if it was covered in gravy. So if it's the kid that was picky for you, you're going to get something that they don't like. You're going to make them wait in the cold, and then you're going to let them shower every other day. And you can't take a shower every day. So you're going to feed them every third day. You're going to let them shower every other, maybe even every third day also, just to give them a taste of how socialism usually works. And what happens in socialism is eventually the socialists run out of other people's money. That's what happens. Everything's free. And, I know we're a constitutional republic, but we got a lot of socialism here. We've got Social Security, which I know is your own money, but the government wastes it. We've got institutionalized healthcare. We got Obamacare now. We've got Medicare. We've got Medicaid. These are all social programs that a good socialist country would have. Now, do I think we should have some kind of social safety net? Absolutely. I think that's a good idea. I look back to 2008 where you could have done everything right. You could have saved. You could have had a great job, invested in the 401k, had an emergency fund, low debt levels, and still lost your house. So I do believe that some type of social safety net is a good idea for those people who really, through no fault of their own, are really down and out. And I'm not, heartless. I'm not cold-hearted. I'm just a capitalist. I think capital flows to where it's needed the most. It solves problems. Capitalism at its heart is there is a problem. Okay, there's a problem, and here's the solution. Those two people get together, and my solution solves your problem. What's it going to cost? And then let's say I'm the only one in that business who's solving this problem. Well, it's going to be expensive. Absolutely, it's going to be expensive because I'm the only one who does it. What happens is other people see that I'm making a lot of money solving this problem, so the market gets flooded with suppliers. Prices come down. That's exactly how capitalism works. The way socialism works is the government allocates resources, generally extremely inefficiently, and problems don't get solved. They actually get worse. And I can tell you, we go to Brazil, which is a very socialist nation. You could see this in action. It's a PhD textbook on why socialism doesn't work, why nobody can gain wealth in socialism except for the ruling party. That's it. They're all driving, government-sponsored black SUVs with security while it's illegal for you to own a gun, and you're eating Dinty Moore and you waited in line for it. So that's what you do. You feed them every third day, and you don't let them take a shower every day. And when you do let them take a shower, turn off the hot water. Okay? The other thing that I want you to do, and this is no matter what, this is even if they hide it well, because the professors in college are pretty slick now. They'll say things like, look, when you go home, you don't need to tell your parents everything we've talked about. It's okay to keep secrets. That's how they are. I want you to implement an avocado toast moratorium. They could eat avocados and they could eat toast, but they're not eating them together. There's no avocado toast in this house, and if I see you eating it, I'm going to smash it in your face. It's very easy. You got to deal harshly with socialists because it's the only thing they understand. And they love to suffer. Socialists love to suffer. Not the ruling party, of course, but all you got to do is look at Cuba or Venezuela, look at how they suffered, and we're basically rescuing them from socialism right now. Here's another thing that you could do, because your kid's going to be a little hesitant to tell you, Mom, Dad, I really think the socialist thing. So I want you to have them compare the W-2 of someone with a gender studies degree and to somebody who is a plumber or an electrician. Just compare the W-2s. You could see that somebody with a gender studies degree makes no money because they're working at Starbucks. They're a barista. There's no jobs in gender studies. There just isn't. And see how they math that one out. Talk to them about it. I remember telling one of my kids, hey, buddy, it's time for you to move out. Come on now. This is the way it's supposed to work. And they had an okay job. But here I am. They're eating out of my refrigerator. They're living in my house, using my hot water. And hey, look, I'm all for that when you're 17, 18, 19. Why are you going to college even? But when you get out of college and you get your job, the bird leaves the nest. And how is the bird going to pay for their new nest? How are they going to do that? They're not paying for it on a gender studies degree, unless you want to live in a commune, socialism again, where about 10% of the people are going to do 95% of the work while everybody else lays around and talks about how sweet this is. So have them compare the W-2 of a gender studies degree recipient to that of a plumber. And you'll see the plumber's probably driving a nice car or truck, supporting a family, living in a house, and they're paying for all that. Okay? Now the last one, look, if you get to this point, you've got bigger problems than I can solve, okay? But I don't want you to have no hope. I want you to have hope. So if little Timmy comes home and he starts talking about, or your daughter, and they start talking about their pronouns, I want you to snap them with a rubber band every time they mention pronouns. Like, if you could get to the underside of their arm, like right here, where there's a lot of nerve endings here, and it really hurts. So I want you to snap them I want them to associate pronouns with being in pain, because that's exactly what's going to happen in their life if they go around telling everybody their pronouns. The only thing worse than somebody telling you about their pronouns is somebody telling you that they do CrossFit. The first rule of CrossFit is you got to tell everybody you do CrossFit. And I think the first rule of changing your pronouns is you got to tell everybody what your new pronouns are. It's one of the things where there's a time in history. I don't know how long it lasted, maybe 6-7 years. I think it's really a lot of it's trailing off, or they're hiding it better. They're probably hiding it better, going incognito on us. But there's 6 or 7 years where I think if you were studying for your PhD in psychiatry, I would pick those 6 years and say, what happened to us in those 6 years? What were the exogenous events? What was going on? And we had a pandemic. That was really stressful for people. I actually don't think we had a pandemic. I don't. And I know people will argue, well, we had COVID. Yeah, I know we had COVID. Did you know we still have COVID? COVID was around before then, and COVID's around now. The whole time COVID's been here. In fact, the state of Florida, there was somebody in Florida who understood COVID and knew that sending people that had been diagnosed with COVID back to nursing homes would devastate the nursing homes. So they didn't do that. Consequently, Florida did not have nearly as bad of a nursing home problem as every other state, like New York, who would send people back. So we've had COVID. I don't think we had an outbreak. I'm going to call it an outbreak. But we vaccinated kids that were not at risk of death. And now we see all the vaccination-related illnesses that they're disclosing. By the way, Fauci knew about it. Fauci knew the whole time. We could have used ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. You can get ivermectin in Brazil at a gas station because it's an antiparasitic. And anywhere that's subtropic or tropical, they have parasites. I got a parasite there once from the dirt that we were carrying. And I took the ivermectin incorrectly, and I suffered from it for like a year. And everybody else is onto ivermectin. The person who developed ivermectin won the Nobel Peace Prize for it. That's how important of a drug ivermectin is for the world. But if they had done that, if they had allowed us to take ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, Pfizer wouldn't have made the money. And, I know it seems simplistic to say, well, that was about money. I don't think it started that way. But you'd be surprised at how many things come down to one of two things, or one of three things: money, power, sex. And it's usually money and power. These people love to have that power over you. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about their psyche. If they probably got beat up on the playground as kids and had their milk money stolen from them, and so they want to lord power over people. And COVID seemed to be a great reason to do it, and they did it. Man, did they ever do it! If you remember, there were advertisements with like movie stars and politicians saying, if you didn't get vaccinated, you're killing people. You're going to kill your grandma. You really want to kill your grandma? I didn't want to kill my grandma. Well, my grandma was already deceased, so it was okay. But who wants to kill their grandma, right? And that's the things that they were dropping on us. If you went to Hawaii and you weren't vaccinated, you had a quarantine for 10 days, and they made you download an app, and if you left your hotel, they would arrest you. Arrest you. That's what we're dealing with. That's what colleges teach. So if you picked up your kid and you're getting a hint that they might be a socialist, or they've changed their gender, or they love avocado toast, you must take action. On investing, I want you to stay the course. I know the market's down today because the market's down today. But we're suffering from all-time highs right now. Yeah, I know gas prices are high. I don't like high gas prices. I've got a pickup truck that takes 28 gallons. I have another car too that you have to put in the more expensive gas. Even that was expensive. But I want to tell you, I listened to Marco Rubio give a press conference the other day, and I really like Marco Rubio. I think he has been by far the most unexpected, pleasant thing that has come out of the administration as far as people goes. He's been an all-star. And one of the things he said is, if you think gas is expensive now, allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon and all negotiation ceases. And they could hold that Strait of Hormuz hostage, and they would. These people do not think like us. Okay, well, they're not out to meet. They're not out to meet your needs or to help you solve a problem. They want to create the problem because they hate you. They hate Europe. Well, I don't really love Europe either, but they had missiles now that could reach every capital in Europe. And the plan for Iran was to build up a ballistic missile program that was so extensive that behind it and underneath it, they could develop nuclear weapons because we wouldn't be able to address them. Well, they ran into a new sheriff, and that new sheriff, he said no. And I'm glad he did it, and I hope he starts bombing them again. Take the money to the bank because that's probably going to happen. When I was a kid, I had a belt buckle. I used to collect belt buckles. I had one that says Iran sucks. I wish I still had it because you know what? Iran sucks. But they could be great again. They were a very cosmopolitan country before the Shah fell, and they could have that again. But quite frankly, I don't care if they do. I don't care. What I care about is that they don't have a nuclear weapon and they can't threaten us with it. What they do with their own people, that's their business. I don't want to be into nation building. We've done enough of that. We've seen how that works. It doesn't work. So take it to the bank. I think we're going to be bombing them again. But if we don't, let's say we do find peace with them. Oil's going to be back at $60 a barrel in no time. What it will take to get oil back to 60 or even lower is the cadence of shipping. So you think about, well, ships go there, they fill up with oil, they take it someplace, and then they come back, and then they do that trip again. So once you get that cadence rolling, oil's back to $60 a barrel. It could be by mid-June. Could be by mid-June if we find peace or we bomb them into submission. I am David Szafranski, a real American, a true red-blooded gun-owning patriot, and the voice you can trust.